Okay, we'll start with this. Boxing insider Rick Glaser had a few choice words for Eddie Hearn, as he often does. Overall, Eddie Hearn is a very good promoter, but he's clearly lost his grip as the premier boxing promoter in the UK to Frank Warren.
You mean like Oscar's lost his grip in America to Eddie Hearn, right?
In truth, Hearn is too spread out globally to conquer and hold just one territory. Hearn is clearly spreading himself too thin all over the globe, and the quality of his shows are now suffering. Example, Wednesday night on DAZN, he has Tira in with a total stiff DeAndre Savage. That is not a quality opponent in anyone's mind but Eddie Hearn's mind.
Calm down, princess. It's a domestic level show in Australia. They're gonna be alright. Tira Moana is but a prospect, so who do you expect him to be fighting?
Rick continued, that is not a quality opponent in anyone's mind but Eddie Hearn's mind. Savage isn't worth the cost of the plane ticket to Australia. Then September 4th on TNT Sports US in America and DAZN, Hearn has Andy Ruiz in with Damian Neba, another stiff that got blasted out in 3 rounds in his last fight versus Frank Warren's now world champion, Agit Kabayel. Ruiz is a former world champion with very little desire that Hearn is recycling and has not fought in 2 years.
Well, if the guy hasn't fought in 2 years, Rick, why would you expect him to fight a live body? Why are you so averse to Eddie Hearn re-signing him? I'm pretty sure if it were Oscar De La Hoya promoting this exact same fight, you would have a very different attitude towards it.
But he said Andy hasn't won a fight in 4 years, and neither Ruiz and Neba should be in the main event on a DAZN show. And it's a main event on TNT in America. This is a horrible look. That is an undercard fight at best. Eddie Hearn, you're a lot better promoter than those 2 poor quality fights are. You have the ability to do a lot better, as we've seen in the past. DAZN pays huge rights fees. They deserve better. Boxing fans pay for DAZN. They deserve better. Definitely do better, Eddie.
Take your own advice, Rick, because Eddie's not the one that needs it.
Or do you not realize that when DAZN and TNT split a card between them, they share the rights fees? I hardly think they're busting the budget by staging Andy Ruiz versus Damian Neba.
Or Tira Moana versus DeAndre Savage. That's your run-of-the-mill developmental fight that most promoters stage for their up-and-comers.
So spare us, the wise old sage act, and save it for the people who need it like your buddy Oscar, because I didn't see any lengthy posts like this one about his abysmal show headlined by Colazo. You're constantly highlighting what are supposed to be Eddie Hearn's drawbacks and willfully turning a blind eye to Oscar's, whose Golden Boy Promotions has been in a state of disarray ever since they lost Canelo Alvarez, downplaying that Ryan Garcia will leave Golden Boy at the drop of a hat, and Virgil Ortiz just tried to
analyze what Rick said, that
the UK.
Eddie Hearn has lost his grip on the UK market and Frank's taken it over, leaving out that that's because Matchroom has gone global, whereas Queensbury is still largely domestic.
The United States.
Talk about how in the United States over time, Eddie Hearn is on more stable ground than many of the promoters that were already here. PBC, Top Rank, and your buddies at Golden Boy. Eddie Hearn has a better reputation in the industry and among the fighters than any of them do.
Talk about it, Rick.
Given the landscape right now, do you really think it's Eddie Hearn that needs your advice? He's got more fight dates than the other guys, more fighters on more stable ground than the other guys, and not just the UK market, but the US market and around the world. After the next Olympic Games, I don't think Matchroom is going to struggle at all to sign the next wave of amateur standouts.
But could you say that about Golden Boy Promotions?
Why do I keep bringing up Golden Boy? Well, it's because the only reason Rick Glaser regularly has a go at Matchroom and Eddie Hearn is because he works closely with Golden Boy. So he's essentially doing what Oscar De La Hoya used to do a couple of years ago when he would take shots at Eddie. These days, he's too busy taking shots at Dana and Zuffa, so Rick is doing the dirty work for him,
making an ass out of himself in doing so because, as stated, Eddie Hearn is not the one that needs your advice. Save the wise old sage act for your buddy Oscar. He's the one that needs help. And the boxing fans themselves are observant. They don't need me to tell them. A Twitter user who goes by the name Sassafran said, the TNT ratings will be the answer. If Andy Ruiz does higher ratings than Zepeda versus Roach, what you just wrote is a load of bullshit. And there's nothing wrong with DeAndre Savage as an opponent in this stage of Tiramoana's career. Making him headline is a good judgment call, especially if he's the goods. Jay Morris, a friend of the channel, said this is the same guy who would criticize Eddie for putting his prospects in tough fights too early. Eddie can do no right for this guy. For Tiramoana's stage, this is a good fight.
It absolutely is. That's just Rick Glaser being critical for the sake of being critical because Oscar's too busy to do it. And he sounds stupid.
Golden Boy is an absolute shambles. Whatever advice you can offer up, offer it to Oscar. Offer it to Eric Gomez. They need your help a lot more than Eddie.
Promoter plays by the same rules, promotes the same titles, and the fighters know exactly what's going on. The confusion being created for every fighter in this country, the devaluing of the belts, and the confusion for fans is only going to spell madness.
Ben, I mean, you and I get on well, Ben, but I don't know why you're being so obtuse here. Right? The main reasons why you're getting your knickers in a twist is because it's your fighters that are being taken onto other people's platforms and other people's promotion.
It's not.
You're now dressing it up as an ecosystem issue. None of you have had a problem. None of you had a problem with the inevitability of what Turki Al-Sheikh was going to do. I told you 3 years ago that Turki's main motivation was to partner up in a certain way with an outcome for him. You all ran to him. You all sat there waiting to be fed by Turki Al-Sheikh. He's now partnering up with an American entity that are going to do what they're going to do. And now what you're dressing up is your inability to be able to control your fighters with the ecosystem being under.
It's exactly the way that Simon Jordan says it is. Ben Shalom is virtue signaling. It's not a threat to the UK's ecosystem that Zuffa has now entered into the space, and the only reason that Ben is in his tits about it is because he's scared. He's scared he won't be able to keep up.
He's scared he won't be able to compete. He already had a full plate trying to compete with Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren.
But you're not the moral authority on any issue because you're losing, because you're outmatched. Because now that Zuffa is operating in the UK and with your old broadcast partner that ditched you for them,
more fighters are going to flock to them because they have more to offer than you do. I've no doubts that even though Boxer is on DAZN now, they're not getting the budget there they were getting on Sky. No way!
So they can't overpay fighters that are with other promotions the same way they used to. Zuffa's not doing anything now that Boxer wasn't doing when they first arrived on Sky. I said this already. How do you think they got so many matchroom fighters to migrate over to them? It's because they offered them more money. Now Zuffa's doing the same thing, so what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Don't worry about their dirty laundry because you've got your own hamper.
That rhymed.
Now you don't see Frank or George Warren shitting bricks about Zuffa's entry into the space, or Frank Smith.
He framed it as just another promoter entering into the space. That's all it is. It's not the existential crisis that Ben is making it out to be for boxing. Maybe it's an existential crisis for Boxer as a promotion.
Don't you notice that the main ones harping about Zuffa are the ones on unstable ground? Ben Shalom in the UK, Oscar De La Hoya in the US.
It makes their jobs that were already difficult that much more difficult. If you're Ben, you probably would have used Solomon Dakers or David Adilier on a couple of your shows once they entered free agency.
Ben was probably hoping to bring those guys over to beef up his stable, to be able to do more shows, but with Zuffa having the resources that they have, Ben can't compete with them. He doesn't have the money.
And he doesn't have the reputation of an Eddie Hearn, of a Frank Warren. He doesn't have the know-how.
So he's going to be a lot more nervous about it than they are. We've seen Eddie Hearn on more than one occasion have fun with this professional rivalry that he's got with Dana, as he feels like he's the best man for the job to take Zuffa on. But you never heard Eddie Hearn say that the boxers' licenses should be revoked because they're signing to Zuffa, or that the BBBOC should block them from operating in the region like Ben did.
Ben's losing it.
You're virtue signaling to fighters because the fighters are the ones that are breaching their contracts.
I'm telling you, Simon, as a fan, no one wants this. It's dangerous for the sport. I genuinely believe anyone that is involved should be ashamed in themselves. No, I'm not. Okay, the fighters, I'm not begrudging.
Yes,
you're right.
Yeah,
I'm
you
not,
can't begrudge a fight, but it's also, Ben, just 2 seconds. I'll use Johnny Fisher, for example, to take a massive payday.
But that's a stupid argument, Sam.
How is it?
Sam, you're virtue signaling to fighters because the fighters are the ones that are breaching their contracts.
No, that's
and
wrong.
What should be behind
when did I say breaching contracts was correct?
Hang on, Sam. Sam. But you're saying, hang on, Sam. You're saying you can't begrudge the fighters trying to make money. Yes, but if you've signed a commercial obligation, you've got to adhere to it. And there's two factors to it.
If they've signed a contract,
hang on, Sam.
Virtue signaling is right, that it's wrong for Zuffa to be there, or it's wrong for the fighters to go over there and do business with them and appeal to moral authority.
You shouldn't do that.
What should they do, Ben? Sign to you and fight for less money? A boxer has a very short window of opportunity to make the kind of money that could change their life. So if right now Zuffa's paying more than anybody, then the fighters should go over there.
Don't worry. They're not going to be overspending like this 5 years from now, I don't think. I give them another 1.5 to 2 years of putting up this kind of money for these kinds of fighters.
I'm telling you, it's no different than what the PBC did when they launched and they had all that Waddle and Reed money to burn, or when DAZN debuted in America and they were spending all that money to draw talent to their platform. Eventually, they had to tighten the budget, and I don't think it's going to be any different with Zuffa. They're just another promoter.
Let me tell you something, Ben. If Boxer fizzles out, if it fades, it's not going to be because Zuffa entered into the space.
I've long maintained that Ben Shalom might have been doomed from the very beginning because he had a lot to compete with already in Frank and Eddie. And Boxer never really had the bodies to keep up with them, let alone Zuffa.
It was already an uphill battle.
Losing Sky Sports as a broadcast partner and their decision to not renew with you was a decision they made all on their own. Nothing to do with Dana, nothing to do with Zuffa. You take whatever know-how you have and you do the job to the best of your ability, because if
Zuffa's the new kid in town. By all rights, they shouldn't have the same know-how that you have.
But if just a few months into their launch, they're eye level with you on the same level as you've got bigger problems, my friend.
In men's welterweight news, Teofimo Lopez Sr. wants Brian Garcia versus Conor Benn winner right after Rolly.
In what would be Teofimo's third fight this calendar year. The first was the loss to Shakur Stevenson. The second is towards the end of this month with Rolly. And the third would be the winner of that fight if he can get them. Teofimo Lopez Sr. wants his son to go directly after the winner of Garcia versus Benn if he defeats the WBA welterweight champion Rolly Romero on August 22nd at the T-Mobile Arena in Vegas. Lopez Sr. sees Garcia or Benn as the next target in Lopez's attempt to collect the major titles at welter. Garcia and Benn meet September 12th in Las Vegas.
Sort of a tight schedule, don't you think?
I mean, it is. The winner of that fight will have fought in September. Barring illness or injury, if they move fast, they could theoretically do it for December, but more than likely, they would push the fight into the next year. Ryan Garcia, the winner. Conor Benn, Ryan Garcia. That's what's going straight right there, Teofimo Sr. said to Fight Hub TV. And then, if Liam Pato is still around, or whoever it is, man, we're just going to try to take over the weight division at 147 to become undisputed again. The trainer made his interest in the Garcia versus Benn winner clear earlier in the interview. That's a good fight, and I think we'll take the winner out of that. He said, especially whoever wins, it'll be a great fight. Either it's Ryan or it's Conor Benn, and we're ready to do it, man.
The plan depends first on Teofimo beating Rolly, which isn't guaranteed after his one-sided loss to Shakur Stevenson in January. Moving to welterweight gives Lopez a chance to leave that performance behind while immediately fighting for another world title. His father believes the additional 7 pounds will make Teofimo faster and more effective rather than slowing him down. I think he should be able to do everything in less than 2 years, become undisputed, Lopez Sr. said. All these fighters are going to be slower than him.
Are they?
And he is a really smart fighter in there. Senior also identified his son's mental state as the biggest danger to those plans. All I know is this is the time we've got to be focused, and my son has got to be in his best mental mind ever, Lopez Sr. said. That's the only thing that could mess up my son. Everything is mental with him. Teofimo has already named Devin Haney, Garcia, and Liam Pato among the champions and contenders he wants at welter. His father's version puts the Garcia versus Benn winner at the front of the line, after Romero. If Lopez beats Rolly, Garcia and Benn will settle their own business 3 weeks later.
Because they're practically on the same schedule. Now, why would Lopez Sr. want for Teofimo to immediately go after the winner of that fight? The short answer is money. He's trying to get at the money.
I'm pretty sure Senior feels like I feel, and you might feel, that Ryan is going to win that fight. He's going to knock out Conor Benn, and Ryan is the money man of this division.
So it's money that he's after. But how winnable is the fight, though, if he does have to fight Ryan?
Ryan said he wants to fight him.
Ryan's upcoming fight, after the Conor Benn fight, is said to be the final fight of his existing Golden Boy Promotions deal, after which he will enter free agency.
Why does that matter?
Because so close to finally breaking away from Golden Boy Promotions and perhaps migrating over to Zuffa where he can make even more money, I don't think he's going to jeopardize losing. So whether or not the Lopez fight happens all depends on whether or not they view Lopez as a threat.
Whether or not they view him as a threat might depend on how he looks at the end of this month with Romero. I have Teofimo winning that fight. I have him beating Rolly. Does he knock him out?
Hey, Gervonta Davis did, right? And so did Isak Cruz at 140, so maybe Teofimo can at 147.
He knows him. They spot a bunch of times.
However he beats him, decision or knockout, I think Teofimo beats him. Beating Ryan is a different proposition, though, because Ryan is noticeably taller and longer than Teofimo. More room to fill out that frame at 147. He's still fast. Now that he's not being tested by the Voluntary Anti-Doping Association, I think he's back on the sauce, and I think he's back to his old form. That's an issue, because what he might do, being the taller, longer fighter that also has speed, is try to walk Teofimo Lopez into a counter left hook. If he hangs back and makes the smaller fighter come to him, Teofimo not being that good coming forward,
he can be caught.
I've never thought Teofimo was all that durable a fighter, especially not based on him getting knocked down by the light-punching George Kambosos at 135. And he's not that good on the front foot coming forward, as we saw in the Sandor Martin fight, the Jermaine Ortiz fight,
the Stevenson fight.
He's a bit more vulnerable when he's the one giving chase. Now, Ryan Garcia is not a good boxer. What he is a good physical specimen. Good height for the weight, good length, good speed, and good power.
But boxing? In terms of boxing, he's shit.
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
Doesn't have the best feet or balance, coordination. Defense is kind of leaky, his variety of punches. It can get pretty repetitive.
The trick for Lopez is to not give him the window to shoot that left hook.
He's the shorter fighter with the lower center of gravity. He has to try to make himself a small target for Brian, because it's not about how great Ryan is, but how vulnerable Teo is on the front foot. He's no pressure guy. He's no pressure fighter. Could be a very lucrative sequence of fights for Teofimo Lopez if they happen that way. From Rolly over to Ryan, if Ryan wins. I think he's going to.
We'll see what happens.